Hello, 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 and welcome. This is Her Talk Show. My name is Sabrina Victoria, and we are going to be talking all about financial strategies for generational wealth. I am so excited for this conversation. I am just hitting 40, and it went by like this.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. You're 21 day, you turn around, you're 40, and you hope that somewhere in between there, you learned some stuff regarding finances
Seriously.
you weren't quite doing before. So I know that I am not the only one that is super excited for this subject right now. So get comfortable. We explore the triumphs. We explore challenges faced by women worldwide. We're going to offer some insight, some inspiration to fuel not only your personal, but also your professional growth. So let's jump in.
Get ready, because today's guest is about to change the way you view your world. This is Her Talk Show, hosted by Sabrina Victoria.
Oh, we already have the ladies jumping on live. I love this. Hey, listen, if you're watching on the replay, make sure you hashtag replay wherever you're at in the comments so we can send you some love after this. We're here every day. We delve deep into the realms of health, wealth, and leadership with some of the most brilliant women globally. We've interviewed over 600 women, and today we are adding another one to the list. We have Rebecca. She is passionate, guiding women on their journey to financial empowerment and independence. This is what I talk about all the time: independence in the world of wealth. Backed by a family-run financial services company founded by her grandfather in 1982, which is when I was born. I specialize in helping women break barriers, or I'm sorry, she specializes in helping women break barriers, overcome financial obstacles, and build a solid foundation for their future. Welcome, Rebecca.
So happy to be here.
Yes, girl. How awesome is this that you are in a family company that's like, is this third generation? What is this?
Third generation. Yep.
How freaking fun is that?
It really is. Honestly, it's a great time. And it's so cool to have both my parents as mentors during this journey of financial advising. So it's been absolutely amazing.
Wow, I love this. So we are talking today about financial strategies for generational wealth. So speaking of generations, right? This is what we all want, I think. We all are thinking about like our kids, but also our kids' kids. And we have these thoughts, we have these dreams, but a lot of times it's so confusing, it's so convoluted. We don't even know where to start.
Nope.
So I'm really excited to have you on today. So I want to ask, when you think about what you teach and your community that you work with, your clients that you work with, what is one of the top things that you wish more women knew?
So the first question that any financial advisor usually gets is, am I doing okay? And I feel like that is just like a very loaded question most of the time. The difficulty with finance is that we hear so many things. There's so much noise on social media. Maybe friends and family kind of flooded your ideas of what finance actually is. And so you arrive here and finance is case by case. So blanket statements on social media are not tailored and personalized to you. So you really have to understand who you are financially before even getting started on your journey of financial wellness, financial independence.
I already am loving this because, some people, it's how old you are.
Yep.
And then, are your parents ailing? Are you married?
Yes.
Do you have kids? Do you own? Do you? Yes. So blanket statements would be the worst almost.
Yes. Like, so for example, and I'm so excited to talk about this, but like an example blanket statement would be, and it's all over the place, right? We hear it from our parents, we hear it from our friends, max out your 401k. That's a blanket statement because if you get out of college and you're not making a lot of money, to be pressured to put $23,000 in 2024 into a retirement account that they can't access the money until 59 and a half or shouldn't, that is a lot of money. And so that is not personalized to that individual. And especially when you're young, you want to save for other things other than just retirement. And so it's really like asking yourself what you want to do with your money. Like, how do you want to spend your money and what do you want your life to look like?
Wow, absolutely. Max out your 401k. That would be not personalized.
It's not. And like, obviously, an amazing goal to have. Everyone should strive for that, but it's not taking into consideration all of the other things that one might want to save for.
Yeah.
And so that's where I think a lot of this confusion is I spoke to this one woman once and she was like, well, I have to start building up an emergency fund. I have to start adding more to my retirement. And I was like, absolutely. Those are amazing goals to have. Like, she kind of regurgitated all the things that she's heard throughout her life. And I was like, those are amazing goals to have. And like, let's definitely work towards that. But what do you want to do? Like regurgitating things. And I'm like, if all of this was planned out, right? And we got all of that sorted away, what else would you want to do with your money? Right? Because it's how you want to live your life. Your money is a tool to live your dream life. And people kind of forget that because it's muddled along the way.
Wow. Yeah. Even thinking of retirement, it's like some people just want to live in a little tiny condo and just hang out in their small little town. Other people want to see the world. They want to travel. They want to end up someplace.
Right. And so those
all be dependent.
Exactly. And like just you rattling off those two examples, automatically they can save and invest completely differently, potentially.
Very, very interesting. And I totally get that. So listen, majority of the individuals watching her talk show are probably between the ages of like 35 to 45. For those that are just stepping into this, maybe they got a little bit of something. What would be what would be like a word of advice as far as where they should start? Should they read a book? Should they start listening to podcasts? Because this is all the information. Should they link up with someone like you or a company like you? Like, does everybody have to have a financial advisor? What would you say is a first step that somebody should start stepping into when they're thinking about this part of their life?
Yeah. So I'm going to give a very biased opinion. I think that everyone deserves to have a financial advisor. Financial advisors get a bad rap, and I totally understand that. And I totally get why they have a bad rap, but it doesn't have to be that way. However, if you are someone that really does not want to explore working with a financial advisor, even though I'm always going to say, would you pay a mechanic to fix your car? You would pay a mechanic to fix your car if you did not have that skill. So why not outsource it to someone that's in the industry and can keep up with the education, the financial industry, all of that stuff. So I'm always going to say, go for a financial advisor. However, if you can't, or if you don't want to, then definitely start doing research on your own. But that research always starts, regardless of if you go to a financial advisor or if you read a book, listen to a podcast, it's always going to start with you. So you have to ask yourself certain questions. We are in two longest relationships of our lives. The first is ourselves, and the second one is with money. So just like an attachment style that we have to romantic relationships, more often than not, people will also have an attachment style to money. And so we need to learn about ourselves and our relationship with money in order to even get started on this journey. And that's where taking 5 steps back, like it's not just about the investments. It's not just about your goals and your dreams. It's also understanding yourself and your relationship with money.
When you're talking about attachment styles to money, what is that?
Yes. So I have this theory that essentially there's attachment styles when it comes to romantic relationships, right? We have like the avoidant dismissive, we have the avoidant fearful, we have the anxiety, and then we have the secure. So all of those relationships, and the reason why there are attachment styles is because it actually demonstrates how people emotionally handle conflicts, our connection to certain things. So why can't that be then applied to our relationships with other things like food, like money? And so I think everyone's attachment style when it comes to romantic relationships can also bleed out into other things. And so that's why I say turn towards the attachment styles of then what is your relationship with money. So for example, if someone has a anxious attachment style, maybe they are spending money in a stressful environment. They're turning to money in order to relieve some emotional stress. But that also plays out in your finances, right? If you're someone who's an anxious person and you're turning to shopping, and that will lead perhaps that you don't have a lot of money to then save for your future self because you're just kind of spending the money now. Same thing as if someone's dating an avoidant person, perhaps if they are avoidant in their romantic relationship, they're avoidant in talking about finances as a couple. And so not knowing, not interacting with different finances and not having those conversations in a couple environment, that could actually potentially, it could potentially hurt your finances in the future.
I've never heard of this before, comparing our money relationship to our personal romantic relationships. But I totally see that.
Mm-hmm. And it's not just that, it's also like taking, how we feel about money. Everyone has a money story inside of them, right? Your dad said something to you when you were 2 years old that you remember for the rest of your life, or you witnessed your parents talking about money in a way that has stuck with you and now plays out in your own life, in your own family life. So starting off there is actually a really beneficial thing to do.
Wow. And what a good testament too for parents to be careful with the way that you are speaking about money and versus positive versus negative way, because your children are listening.
Yes, they are. And actually studies have shown that we develop who we're going to be financially by the age of 7. Yeah.
Are you serious right now?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And so the question is, where do we get that from? And that's why I say 90% of finance, it's not the investments. It's not, actually like taking the time. It is obviously that's part of it, but behavioral, environmental, and emotional, that's 90% of finance. It's what are your behaviors towards, what are your emotions towards money? What are your behaviors when it comes to investing? Are you disciplined? Are you consistent with investing? It's things like that that actually matter. I'm not saying the investments themselves do not matter, because obviously they do, but a lot of finance is our human nature and our instincts and our reactions to things that actually then bleed into our finances.
Wow. Can you repeat that really fast? We have a ton of people watching live right now. You said behavioral, environmental, and
emotional. Yeah. And that's just obviously my theory, is that 90% of finance is behavioral, emotional, and environmental.
Yeah, totally makes sense though.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think too many people would argue with you. There is
but you can.
one person that would argue with you. There's always someone. But that totally makes sense. Wow, I appreciate all of that. What does a secure person look like?
So this is someone who is actually fine asking for help. That shows a secure person. And, so a secure person in a romantic relationship is someone who is fine getting close to someone, trusts someone, not to obviously hurt them, right? To the extent that someone would hurt them. They're not blindly trusting people, but they trust their partner. And so they're more likely to have open communication. They're more likely to trust. And so that's kind of what it plays out with your relationship with money as well, right? So if you're someone who's a secure person, perhaps you're more trusting in the market, or you have faith in the market, at least, that, it's not just blind faith. And obviously you have to pick the right investments for yourself with the right time horizon, with your risk tolerance, your suitability. Doing all of that is very, very important. So a secure person, though, is more likely to ask for help because maybe they don't think that. I always say that we get a second opinion on our health, but not our wealth. And so the reason for that is this muddled behavioral, environmental, and emotional thing that we have to first get through. We have to bulldoze through that before we even get comfortable asking for help financially.
Most people get a second opinion on their health, but not their wealth. Girl, that's good. You got to put that in quotes somewhere.
Thank you.
That's really good. Okay, cool. That went in a totally different direction than I was thinking. So, but that makes sense. So a secure individual with their wealth is okay asking for help. That totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Because they're continuously getting better then.
Yes.
Improving.
Correct.
Girl, I love that. Okay, continuing to improve. Good stuff. So I want to ask, earlier in the podcast, you were saying that financial advisors a lot of times don't have the best rap. We all know that. Mm-hmm. What are some limiting beliefs that you believe individuals have, like the biggest myths around financial advisors that you're kind of aware of or seeing?
Yeah, so it's actually interesting because I think back then financial advisors, they took money, and it was actually, people did some sketchy stuff way back when, not when I was in the industry at all, but, there's a lot of rules and regulations now avoiding the behaviors that were happening back then. But for example, something that happened was brokerage fees. So someone who was making just trades so that they could get commission for those trades in someone's account, which is why it is really important to ask a financial advisor if they are fiduciary and if they are independent, because then, some people do sell you a product and they get a commission on that product versus other people just want you to do well and have your best interests at heart. So the best thing that a financial advisor could do is actually primarily behavioral, right? It's like outsourcing an accountability buddy. It's making sure that someone's on top of you to follow through on the things that you told them to do. A financial advisor that hands you a plan is not necessarily someone that's going to help you implement that plan, because you can meet with them, you can pay them a fee, and they could say, do this, this, and this, but they're not holding you accountable.
I'm here still. I don't know what happened.
No, it's all good. So I think that those are things to consider when talking to financial advisors in the industry.
Totally makes sense. 100%. When an individual you said there's a difference between fiduciary and someone who just wants to help versus selling you something.
Well, so there are different types of financial advisors. Like, getting into the nitty-gritty, I don't have like exact examples and names of like the different types of financial advisors, but it is really important to know the questions to ask a financial advisor. One good question is to ask if they are fiduciary, because there are certain firms that are not necessarily fiduciary firms.
So you want one that is or isn't?
You want one that is, because fiduciary just means that your best interest is their best interest. They're looking out for you.
Does that have to do with like commissions?
Sort of. It also just has to do with like the overall plan.
Wow, this is so interesting. I didn't realize that. Okay. I really liked what you said here as far as the opening statement of what a lot of individuals say when they first sit down with you and you go through all of their stuff. And then their question is, am I doing okay?
That is the number one question financial advisors get.
Yeah, I could totally see that. you said earlier that, your bias and everyone should have a financial advisor. At what age? I think that's another big thing. Is this like when you're married and have kids? Should we be doing this at our 20s? Like when?
Yeah. The earlier you can find a financial advisor that can help you, the better. That's my belief. Time. So there is something that I like to call the wealth equation. The wealth equation is just 3 simple components in financial industry. It's the amount you're investing in upfront and also on a consistent basis, the investments that you're making into, that you're contributing into, and then the time horizon. So the amount of time that you have that you want to reach a certain goal potentially. Those 3 factors matter the most, but the one that is the most heavily weighted is time. Because that means that if you're being invested properly over a long period of time, potentially your money is then potentially growing for you, potentially working for you. So time is the best thing to have on your side. So not to say, though, it's never too late or never too early to get started. But taking into consideration that starting early is potentially beneficial to an individual, which is why I say getting started as early as possible can potentially be beneficial to you in your future.
Got it. So upfront, like the upfront money that you put in, the consistency of which you invest.
Yes.
Right. And then what you're putting your money into.
Yes.
And then the last one or the third one is the time horizon.
Yeah.
For those taking notes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So the amount, and what's interesting is the 2 things that you have control over today are the amount and the investments themselves. Because you don't necessarily know when you're going to retire. There's certain things that are muddled with time naturally, like who knows what's going to happen in the next 3 years for you. So the only 2 things that you can control today are the amount that you're investing and the investments that you're investing into.
Got it. Definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
Speaking to those that have nothing, they have no investments whatsoever. That was me at one point in my life.
Yeah.
I don't think I started investing until I was 28, maybe. And I felt like I was way behind. I put $2,000 in. I bought all Apple. I bought a stock. Since then, 9-day difference. Where should someone start? Should someone do that? Should someone just drop their money into something aimlessly? Should they speak to somebody before they do anything?
So first of all, the thing I wanted to address is 28 is actually not far behind whatsoever, because you still have a long time horizon until retirement, right? So the average retirement age is around 65 is what we kind of project when I pull projections for retirement. So you have a lot of time to actually make your investments work for you, which is why it is important, the amount and the investments themselves that you're picking. So there is a slew of investment options that you can pick. When you're talking about crafting an investment portfolio, I actually have a different mindset than a lot of people. I actually like to think of everything that you've ever spent money on as your investment portfolio. So basically, that is to say that if you are spending your money on shoes, on vacations, you are investing because you are exchanging money for something else. And so now what we have to figure out, because the people that are starting out with nothing, first of all, why is it circumstantial, right? Like you're a Sabrina, or is it because maybe you're keeping up with the Joneses? Maybe you've been buying too many things. So that's where the behavioral aspect of why you are where you are right now comes into play. After we take that into consideration, now it's just switching your mindset, right? Are you someone who has 70 pairs of shoes? That's part of your investment portfolio. So instead of buying 70 pairs of shoes that doesn't give you a return on anything other than instant gratification, let's switch it to then be investing into something that can potentially give you a more rate of return.
Wow. What are the different types of things that somebody can invest in?
I mean, there's so many. You can invest in ETFs, index funds, individual stocks, real estate. There's so many investment opportunities out there. And so it's picking the ones that are the best for you and your tailored financial plan. So I like to say too, the plan is what determines what you're actually investing in. You should not go out and just buy a stock, unfortunately. It's like what you gave the example of. I would almost say sit down and figure out what you want out of your life, and then strategically pick investments that will help you to potentially reach that goal.
Got it. Totally makes sense.
Yeah. So the plan picks the investments, not the other way around.
Beautiful. I love this. For those listening live, for those listening on the replay, where can people, well, actually, let's start with this. Obviously, we're getting a really good idea of your background, of who you are, what you do, of how you can help. When you are speaking to an audience like this, who should be reaching out to you? Who do you help?
I pretty much help everyone. My firm does not have a minimum investment, so anyone can come, and how we do it is based on assets under management. So I would be someone managing your money. If that's something that you're interested in doing and exploring, absolutely come to me. I tend to work with people that are younger because I like strategically setting them up to optimize their potential wealth in their future. But I really do want to help a lot of different individuals.
When an individual is single versus married versus kids, do things change with the way they invest?
Yes.
What are some of the biggest things?
Well, so it just really depends on their plan, right? Like it's the investments themselves come naturally, but the plan is the most important thing, because there's a difference between someone who's just starting out, right? Maybe you have a 2-year-old, you're probably going to want to save for some form of college, maybe. Or maybe you're going to want to invest for the child to be able to spend on whatever, right? Start a business, get a house, whatever. So those are different conversations to have. And then also someone who is older, approaching retirement, those are going to be completely different investments. So it really does depend on the plan and the overall projection of what you want for the rest of your life.
Definitely makes sense. And then when you're talking about Money Her Way, I know that's something that your mom and you have put together.
Yes.
What is that for?
Yeah. So essentially my mom and I started a company, Money Her Way. We're now both financial advisors. At the time we started, I was not a financial advisor. I since then got tested and now I'm licensed. The whole goal of Money Her Way was to essentially provide financial literacy to everyone, make it more available. We're not taught certain things in school. And so I wanted to make financial literacy accessible, especially to women, because women have very unique needs that I'm not even sure we're aware of.
And so specifically for women.
Yeah.
And then you and your mom show up in what way for these women?
So I am going to actually turn a lot towards content because, again, I just want to clear a path for the noise and actually have a licensed financial advisor chatting about certain things on the internet. So I'm hoping that will provide some form of financial literacy. This company is in the beginning stages, so not quite sure where it's going to lead, but I'm hoping that people will provide feedback so that I can provide proper financial literacy that is perhaps lacking in the rest of our lives. But the goal is to obviously in some way give back based on hours. So whether that be potentially coaching or actual financial advising of assets under management, that's something that we're looking to do for women.
Beautiful. Super smart. Definitely something that's needed. Definitely something
that's what I hope.
Yeah. So for those listening live, for those of you listening on the replay who want to follow you, who want to check things out, where can everyone go? Where do you hang out the most?
So like I said, I'm going to be turning to financial advising. Not financial advising. I'm going to be turning towards financial content a lot. So you can follow me everywhere. Honestly, my plan is to be everywhere. So TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. It's just money her way, one word.
Awesome. So pretty much all the platforms across the board, money her way, hit a follow, hit a like, so that they can start getting all this information drip to them.
Yes, exactly.
Fabulous. Very, very cool. Well, I thank you so much for being here, for hanging out with us. For those of you listening live right now, thank you. If you resonated with Rebecca and all the goodness that she shared today, make sure you check her out on her social media, Money Her Way. She's everywhere, Instagram, TikTok, sounds like Facebook. We love to connect people here on this platform in order to make sure that we all continue to rise. Any closing thoughts, Rebecca, as we close out?
I think it's important to understand that finance is a personalized journey, and women in particular do deserve personalized, tailored advice.
Yeah, I think sometimes we're scared.
We are. We were taught to be good girls. We were taught to be obedient. And how that plays out into adulthood is we become risk averse. And that could potentially be bad for your personal finances in your future.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much for being here. This was an incredible episode of Her Talk Show. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for inspiring us. To our dedicated listeners who are still with us right now to the very end, thank you so much. Make sure you follow, like, and share. Once again, I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. I invite you to join our amazing community, Her Nation, where we have conversations just like this one every step of the way. Until next time, do something awesome today. Much love.